One shout out to the team that put this together. Really appreciate the work they're always doing. Really appreciate that. Let me welcome everybody to this session. I know you guys have been here for a while now. The founders, entrepreneurs, engineers, people that work in the industry, partners, regulators. Fintech evening, according to my team, which I agree with, is about coming together to share insights and expand networks and push particularly Africa fintech forward. So it's a very dear event that is dear to our hearts at Flutterwave. I heard the last speaker speak about the time when we powered event ticketing for Africa FinTech event. I recall those times back in 2018. It feels like before the world changed right now. But it's also a reflection of how long we've been on this journey and how this journey is really a reflection of partnerships and team building to get here. Reflecting on the journey so far, 2024 was pretty bold. Very, very bold. I recall talking to one of my colleagues about this year we have to be bold. That was 2024. From new market expansion to new products that we built, it wasn't just about big moves, in my opinion. It's really about the purposeful journey that purposeful moves that we're making to set the tone for how this year will be for us, and also how we see the future of payment in Africa and beyond, right? To be specific, last year, we launched Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Turkey, which is very interesting. What were we doing there? Why were those markets important to us? What was the Africa goal that we have as a company? That's not changed. I think for most people, I always say that Africa does not exist in isolation. We are connecting Africa to the world, Africa to the Middle East in this case, via Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, and Turkey expansion. We did that for one of our major enterprise customers, and we were able to get it done. The team worked on that from technology to expansion to incorporation to licensing. The whole 9 years, they got it done, and we launched in that market with our partner, with our client in the period last year. We recorded our first transaction in those currencies in that period. And it was so interesting seeing our engineering, products, partnerships, account management, sales, compliance, risk, even marketing, how everybody came together at Flutterwave to enable those markets for our customers. And I think for us, it underscores our commitment as a company to actually bridge Africa to the world through what we call seamless payment. Last year as well, we secured very important licenses. We've learned both the good and the hard way as a company to do things a particular way and do them well. Sometimes it makes us very slow, which my team tells me it's okay, as long as we're slow and we're steady. But it's very important. In a period, we got our Ghana licenses. We got our enhanced PSP license in Ghana, which enables us to be able to launch for business in Ghana effectively. We got also our Uganda license. Same for Egypt, same for Mozambique. And this demonstrates that we're not just expanding as a company, we're building local trust. We've gone through a process where regulators, government have reviewed our application. They found us worthy enough to operate in those markets. And for me, that is also a function of the amazing work my team does, and also the amazing work regulators in this market are also doing to constantly, be at the best of innovation and enable new players to enter the market. I typically say everywhere that payment is partnerships. Last year as well, we launched a very important partner with American Express, where Flutterwave is not just a processor, we're a direct member of American Express. And that is big and important, right? I think you can count number of fintechs in Africa who have that membership right now. What does that mean? This means that in our stack, we went deeper to the deepest possible point that you can get to without being a bank, which is to be a scheme member directly. What does that mean for our customers? This means that you can accept millions of American Express cards from Platinum to Black to Centurion to Gold to Blue, whatever American card that exists in the world can now be enabled for you via Flutterwave. We came back home. We went to South Africa. We launched Capitec Bank partnership. And this means that Capitec Bank customers in South Africa can pay on our platform without a card. They can pay with their accounts directly on our platform. We also work with NIPS, the giant NIPS, as you know, to enable direct debit in the period as well. Again, for me, it's really all about our vision of partnership and open collaboration. We're making real-time cross-border payments that will make this easy. And those partnerships have to be as simple as anything. Hence why we go to the deep to make it happen. I always say that the secret of Flutterwave with people. In that period as well, we welcome our CFO Mitesh, who joined the company from Citibank. He's been here for almost a year now, so it's not really new anymore, right? But Mitesh comes with global finance expertise that signals that, whilst we're local, we're also global. I think the right word is we're global, right? We're scaling, yet we're a global player rooted in Africa. I like to call it local ingenuity, global excellence, right? When it comes to our product, right? SendUp in last year, SendUp is very dear to our heart at Flutterwave. It's like our baby in the company. It processed just in 5 minutes 95% of all the volumes on that platform in 5 minutes. And that's important because if you think of remittances, people send money not because they like to send money. Well, some people like to send money, but not all the time. People send money because they are trying to achieve a goal. If they send money to maybe someone's mom or someone's sister or child or parent, they're sending money for different reasons, right? From, sending money for food, sending money for holidays. I think last year or 2 years ago, we even had someone who was sending money for Ashwebi for bride price. We actually had to add a new feature to send up and call if you're sending money on send up right now, one of the category you will see there is bride price. I think the marketing team did a whole story about the last year. But the point I'm trying to make here is we understand why people send money. The emotions behind sending money is beyond just the fintech of the world. It's really about the reason why people send money. And that's why processing 95% of our volume in 5 minutes is very important. Even that money got there at the right time. Right, it got there on time. Last year as well, we doubled down on enterprise payment leadership. We understand that we want to be the category leader for enterprise payments in Africa. When you're talking big volumes, big merchant, you're talking Flutterwave. And that's deliberate. Big volumes, big merchants, big transactions, complex money solving. That's where we thrive. Most things you use today in Africa, we're somewhere in that stack. So paying for your Netflix, we might be there. So getting an Uber, we might be there. As you're reading your Spotify subscription, we might be there. As you are buying that flight ticket, we're right there. It's all about we want to be there when enterprise payments are happening, when currency conversions are happening, right? When it's time to make huge value payments, we want to be there. And that's what we've done in the last couple of months now. And the point is, if the large guy can trust us, right, the small guys did not need to worry at all. So it's not that we don't care for the small guys. We actually care for the small guys. But what we're saying is we've been battle tested and we're here for you. Just use us, right? It works. It will work. the lessons that we've learned in the period so has been about payment isn't just payment. Payment is trust and also innovation, right? And I would say that in a very interesting way because you can't talk about innovation without talking about trust. People will try your product if they trust you, right? Every other day you see Apple releasing a new feature or a new iOS, people trust the Apple iOS update to be successful, so they just go and download that new update. We also understand that, and scaling in Africa is not for the weak at all, to be frank. However, that also is the opportunity, right? And we are constantly demonstrating our willingness to work with our regulators, law enforcement, our community to ensure we build real products that actually work very well. Last year, we partnered with AFTS Nigeria to help them to partner on them on the cybersecurity center that they were launching. And this is one of our show of force of our active stance against fraud and against anything that would destroy value. We do not like to wait for solutions. One of my drive as a person is, let's just don't talk about it, let's go do it. We create them. Behind everything you see us do well, there has been so many challenges, restructuring, product orders we have to cross, operational issues. But our job is to abstract that for our customers and for our partner and for our community as well, right? However, those challenges makes us to understand that it indeed takes fire to make iron into steel. But that said, the impact we create as a company and as a brand is there and it's being felt. And we've learned a lot. We've got a lot of missteps that made us be very humble as a team right now. We have our learning caps on. We're going to keep learning, right? But still keep building solutions that are sustainable to solve day-to-day issues for the average global enterprise who wants to serve in Africa, or African enterprise who wants to expand globally, or consumer wants to send money back home. Wherever you are, we want to be there in some way, shape, or form in that stack, solving problems for you. This year, one major direction that we are going as a company, and you can ask anybody in Flutterwave about this, is we're preaching just one message. It's profitability for long-term growth. We know that as a company, being profitable is our first priority right now. We want to be self-sustaining for the innovation ahead of us. It's a marathon, it's not a sprint. We've been here for a minute now. So we understand that very well. And that's why we're all going head on about how do we become profitable as a company? How do we optimize all our processes? Our focus on driving, not all revenue are made equal, right? We want to drive the right kind of revenue to optimize our growth as a company. Beyond that, there is a lot happening under the hood of Flutterwave. One of them is our next gen API, for example. My engineering team and product team, they've been working tirelessly for months now in rebuilding our API stack. And that is just because we understand that if we do it well and we bring ease to our customers, we get to help them to grow their business, right? Some of this new next gen API obviously have AI input there. So the engineers here have to deliver it now, right? So when we launch that feature, whichever for the AI component that we're bringing into our entire API stack. Beyond that as well, we're enhancing speed, reliability, right? Flexibility as well. How do we make our client from day one SME to large global enterprises scale with minimal friction, right? There's still friction in Africa today. There's still friction in payment. There are companies incorporated in Nigeria who want to get paid from customers in Ethiopia. How can we make that happen in a simple manner? Should we have to incorporate in Ethiopia again? Can it be easier than that? So we're constantly, looking at all these ramifications and thinking, how do we help to drive value for our entire base? We're also thinking about how do we drive more financial inclusion and help SMBs, right? Recently, in the last couple of weeks, we partnered with SMEDAN, the NITDA, Ministry of Youth in Nigeria. And the goal was really, how do we empower small businesses? Today on our stack for small business, we have the Flutterwave store, we have our invoices, payment links, donation pages. All these tools are there to help SMBs to grow and scale. But beyond that, we're still very committed to removing the pain points that will not enable the average African entrepreneur SMB to scale. That for us is a major focus. I think one thing that I never do is bet against Africa, right? We are constantly betting for Africa, right? Everything we do at Flutterwave is all about how do we give Africa a chance. I tell my leadership team, when you choose to work in Flutterwave, you've chosen to help Africa to scale, right? And we're at the forefront of it. We're fueling that growth, that explosion. And that is all about how do we create a future where payment does not feel like payment anymore. The easiest one I can use to explain this is when you get into a cab back in the day, if you recall, it's a process to get into a cab. You have to probably pay before you get into the ride, right? Or get into a bus or something. But now, if you get into an Uber, you don't pay. You pay, obviously, but you pay after. There's this after service experience that you get. That might be very simple, but that's the underscore of innovation that Uber brought to the table. That's how we want payments to be across Africa in the future. How do we make it simpler to pay with your account? How do we make it simpler to pay with the amazing payment type we have today on the continent? NIPS in Nigeria is powering amazing innovation, as you can see, through direct debit, through pay bank transfer, and all of that. M-Pesa in Kenya keeps on growing and scaling. Airtel Mobile Money keeps on scaling. Airtel Money is doing an amazing job. Perhaps is rolling out so many amazing stuff across Africa. How do we leverage our own solutions in Africa for Africa and drive value across the continent? How do I make it easier for a customer in Nairobi to pay a merchant in Lagos or in London or in Johannesburg? It doesn't matter where you are. We want to make payments simple. And we still have a long way to go in making that happen. Before now, it's very unheard of to see African companies being global players. That is changing, right? There's no global news you see where you won't hear about Flutterwave, Piggyverse, Bamboo. There's so many Riseverse, so many companies who are doing amazing work, interswitch, and even in payments. And I think that is a testament to where things are right now. And I think when, for example, we got our US MTL licenses, we got 30 states. There are a few African companies who have done that before us. But again, blazing the trail is what we do at Flutterwave. Building that infrastructure to make it really easy for payment to be able to be simple actually is what we want to do. I always speak about three themes that I've seen in other countries that has driven growth, like in China or other strong markets, commerce, payment, and logistics. I feel very strongly that with the work you're seeing across Africa right now, we're seeing Child Deck doing amazing work on logistics in the food space, but it's still infrastructure. I said to a friend of mine who was building a company as well in the US, I said, here in Africa, we're building a feature, we felt have to build an infrastructure layer to make that work, right? So we're going to use double the capital to be the same feature that you've built very easily in the US or in the EU and the UK. And that underscores the work that we have to do. But that again makes it exciting. We're here to do rather bit than here in Africa, building for the future, building for tomorrow. It's not just APIs and code, it's also forging policies, partnerships, mindset that will make Africa FinTech an amazing household name, right? I heard, for example, a bunch of people that, how do you send them back home? Obviously, they must send that, they must send Lenfi. I'm like, oh yes, that is great. Before now, those things we would have been Western Union or MoneyGram, right? But the point is, there's a shift happening about African built solutions that are actually making a household name worldwide. We want to ensure that people talk about Africa, the next frontier of fintech or Africa in general. And Africa takes center stage. I was in MIT a couple of weeks ago, and I was discussing the fact that we need to go from being consumers to producers, right? And I'm very happy to see that we're getting there. Like our people are now consuming our own product, which wasn't available maybe 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. But we're getting there now. It underscores the work we're all doing as an industry, but beyond that we're also doing Africa as well. In closing, I think for me, resilience and our ambition is key to everything that we do at Flutterwave. Stumbles are going to happen for sure, right? But we have to just keep going. I want to encourage everybody, partners, engineers, founders, people in the industry, to keep testing the limit of what is possible. If you don't do that, then who will, right? And I think it's important to also think about having that shared goal to deliver growth, opportunity, transformative solution for the continent and really make it work. I've seen a bunch of people who now invest in Naira with piggyvest, in USD with maybe Rice Vest, they buy US stock with Bamboo. Like somebody's entire personal life stack did not exist in the last 10 years. That is testament to the growth that we've seen in our world in the last couple of years now. In closing, finally, we should all keep unlocking the potential of African fintech, one transaction at a time. I believe in a future whereby borderless payment, financial inclusion, empowered SMBs, global enterprises are going to redefine our entire economy as Africa. One thing that I've learned in 2024 is working together, collaborating with the right focus and integrity can drive explosive growth and truly, truly meaningful impact. Thank you very much. That is the end of my keynote.
Okay. I'm meant to say ease as well because it makes life much easier. Thank you. Innovation. Speed. Identifying. I would say convenience and creativity. Thank you. That's how we learn it. Experience. Thank you. Need a little bit much. Found out. She looks like.
I said it.
Said, everybody think nice. Shout out to all the women. She's a round of applause. Now you don't clap.
Okay, now we can dive into the panel session. So, like GB said earlier, Flutterwave, we have like the best people that work for us. Shout out to the talent team. And you have the opportunity to hear from some of these people. So please permit me to introduce Wendy Akomolafe Kalu, AVP Branding and Storytelling. Flutterwave. Like when you hear a storyteller, you can tell, right? Like when you see a very creative person, you can tell, like, look at her style. Please, she's my manager. Don't care that. We also have Mayo Olavi, Vice President Global Expansion. Thank you. Then we have Wisdom Joshua, Senior Product Manager. And we have gorgeous Opeoluwa Abitoye, Vice President Relationship Manager. And moderating this session, we have a man, Charles, marketing lead. We have Frank, senior tech reporter from Tech Cabal. You know what's so exciting about this panel session? 3 women today. Please, a round of applause for them. I guess.
You. Round of applause for her. All right. Just to set the ground. I discovered that I'm here to talk about and talk for safety and preparedness. We're going to have 5 minutes between your time, and I want everyone to be able to answer the questions and also make our time. So we're going to stick to the timing. Is that fine? Everyone? Thank you. All right. So I'm going to start. Okay. Thank you. All right. Do I need to go over it?
Yes, I think you should. Because we would not hear.
Okay. I think for some reason it keeps going. So I said that we're going to do 20 minutes for each questions that I'm going to have. So, between us, 9 minutes, right? So I'm just going to start off with you, Wendy, and I'm going to ask you like 2 questions. I think. So first of all is this report, this 2024 report, the first of its kind at Flutterwave, and I just wanted to know why now. What happened?
Can you guys hear me? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Hi. Yeah.
He's coming here, Wendy.
Yes. So this report, in the way that we presented it, is the first of its kind, but something that we do every year. As we year. This time around, we decided to do something different because we really wanted to acknowledge the achievements that we had last year, but also they're really real about the challenges that we had as well, the impact. In our journey and kind of in our maturing as a company, we've gone through quite a lot. And right now, and I said last year, it was about kind of owning who we are as a company. Right? And one of the ways that we wanted to do that was to tell the story of how we performed in 2024. But then in addition to that, tell the frank story of building a company that is founded by Africans, Africa focused, but with global aspirations. It's not an easy thing to do, but we really wanted to find ways to tell that story. And so we did that in our 2024 report, our enterprise reports, and then we also went even more scientific, and we created our remittance reports for that purpose as well. Because we wanted to also add back to the conversation about payments, about remittance in the global space.
I can imagine the volume of work that was taken. I'm going to ask you, what's the background story? What was it like to figure together, looking at your submission from here? I can imagine you would have to go back time to go to that forward. What was it like filing all the reports, bringing it what it is going to say today?
So she's not in the room because she's running away because she knew I was going to mention her. But someone on my team, her name is Chinemere, call her China. She is the one that brought the vision to life. I had a conversation with China halfway through 2024. And I said, I think it's a really good idea for us to get a different type of course this year. And I said, I really want to lean into your creative direction because she's extremely creative. I wanted us to lean into our creative direction. And she just took it and she ran with it. So we decided what are our objectives. We want to talk about how we perform in 2024. But in addition to that, we want to add value. We're experts or well-versed in the payment space, not just in Nigeria, but globally in Africa as well. Have a view into how payments work in Africa. Let me tell that story. But then many people are not telling the story of remittance in Africa. We have a lot of players, but we don't have a view into background, the stories behind the payments, the stories behind the remittance and stuff like that. So we were like, okay, we know what our objectives are. Now let's make it happen. So then it required a lot of collaboration with the data team, the account management team, with the partnerships team, every single person. Our design team suffered in our hands. But yeah, it required a lot of collaboration, fighting, late nights, all of that stuff. But the end result is fantastic. Yeah.
I can see that. Let's build on that data. Sure. All right. I want to ask $500 million was the money that was generated. That's significant. I can't even start to imagine. But I want to ask, what kind of infrastructure is that to be possible?
So that's really enormous, right? If you're looking at December, it's very interesting. You realize that the context of Nigeria, that's really what I'm saying we have. So what does that mean? So you have a lot of people coming to the country, right? So who are already traffic. So people need to spend money to their friends, family. So the traffic has been, which means when you have payment solution, able to make things with the real transaction, they just catch the traffic. So that's we shock you, surprise you. So it's like both times, right? Preparation in advance. What do we do exactly? Try to ensure every single payment option we need was regional for everything. So if you're a merchant who's seeing payments, you're a consumer or a retail customer wants to transfer. You probably want to send the asset, right? Send it to your guys. Now, and there's the other bit of work which more or less like homework. So imagine this. You realize the abilities, right? And preparing in advance as the whole manner of what does that mean? Everywhere should see. It's disrupts and be seamless and transfer because you're not trying to bring it on. So imagine you're very advanced, traffic that's already established, like the environment, the nature of the time. Of course, make everywhere quiet and make it.
Thank you very much. My second question would be, I know that adoptions, a lot of people are into what I went was before, always people like making payments with different prices that they have. And I would imagine that there will be a lot of how has Flutterwave been to adapt to changing?
That's the interesting thing about payments, right? We try to ensure we're grounded. So grounded to the ecosystem, grounded to the market. Try to ensure that in every market we create, it's required the market available. What does that mean? We quickly realize this brings to markets and speed. Context will be different. We quickly realize that payment needs a preference. Right? So if you're operating in Nigeria and transport, right? So we keep ourselves grounded in every space, right? They ensure we have APM. So if you go to our other front markets, right? Ensure more money, right? So what we try to do is we stick to the markets, look at the ensure that we make our payments required to move the traffic, required for the system to get paid, right? So that's really just it, right? Payment settling.
And you get the traffic, you can make what's available. All right, so Zambia, Gambia, Mozambique, 4 markets last year, and you keep unlocking countries like it's so easy. But I would imagine that there's something else that's making it look as if it's so easy. What are those challenges? What are the steps that you've been taking to make this easy?
Glad that we make it look easy. That means we're doing something right. Yeah, so it's not easy. Of course, there are challenges. First will be the navigation of the whole application process. There's a lot that goes into submitting one application, whether it's per country. America, for example, you have to do it per state. So you can imagine that painstaking process of doing everything one by one per state. Same thing with the other African markets. So just navigating that whole application, get all documents together, the requirements before the ultimate submission and the approval of the license. Also, we had to unlearn and relearn. We can't say, oh, because we just got it in this state or we just got it in this country, it's the same thing that we just replicate and do there. We had to understand the nuances, the cultural nuances of each of the markets. I'm sure you will agree with me that Africa is a very special place. And we all have, even as well, one Africa, but we all have different cultures. So even the way we interact and engage with the partners or the central banks is different. So we had to understand that and then even help the regulators build trust with us, build trust with regulators and our partners as well, so that they understand why we're coming into the market and what we want to achieve. It's not just about us getting the license, it's about us providing value in the market. So we have had to do lots of presentations to the regulators and the partners to let them know what we want to achieve. Once we get the license, this is the value that we're bringing to the economy. And then I would also say maybe lastly, in terms of infrastructure, we had to adapt our infrastructure to whatever the specific requirements are of that particular market.
When you was talking earlier, talking about it makes us partnership that you guys are going into, Capitech and a lot of owners that you've gotten into. But what are the things that you consider when you are going to these partnerships?
Okay, partnerships were very, we choose our partnerships, we select our partnerships, right, very carefully. One of the things that we look at is reach. So when we partner with you, what are you giving us access to? Affordability. Because obviously, if you price too high, we can't price the market cannot price their customers, and then it becomes a ripple effect, and no one's able to use the payment method. So we look at affordability, and we also look at efficiency, whether it's transaction efficiency or operational efficiency. So before we select a partner, we look at those things, whether it matches with our own values and what we are trying to achieve at that particular time. And so with the likes of Capitec, Amex, Afrigo, OPay, all those type of partnerships was helping us to achieve extra payment methods, because we don't want to box one person and you must pay with cards or you must pay with mobile. We want to cater to every single individual so that when they're going to a merchant site, they're able to pay whichever way they are used to pay, and doing that seamless. And so in 2025, we'll see a lot more of that. We'll see a lot more of strategic partnerships, whether it's global merchants or other partners in the payment space. That's what we'll be looking at this year.
Thank you. At least we have the information of what goes into it, what the founders in the room today. All right, so if you might pass it to her. Yes, thank you. So enterprise business grew 12%. All right. I'm keen to know what drove that change. That's
Thank you very much. And I think I have just last. So most of my colleagues already mentioned things I would have said. The 12% growth, obviously, from the enterprise businesses is a very significant one for us. And that was mostly driven by global expansions. At Flutterwave, one of our key value proposition is reach, and the fact that we're able to scale our customers' businesses across Nigeria and across Africa, as the case may be. And what we had seen in the period was businesses that are expanding out of Africa, collecting payments outside of Nigeria, and generally just being on the map. Our APIs are so seamless that you are able to use just one API to collect payments at any period from any part of the world. So it's easy, it's seamless, and one of the significant growths we recorded, and I mean this is talking about probably just one of the customers, and this is usually a very valid case in point for us because we're so proud, is Airpeace and how they scaled, or how we helped them to scale the Lagos-London route. We're very happy and proud to be a part of that expansion for them, and we made it seamless for them as well. So examples like this and being in this kind of business that is able to help their customers scale, help their customers collect payments across Africa, across Nigeria, globally, as a matter of fact, it's very important for us, and it was one of the things that we thrived on.
all right. There's a rise in account-based payments. Can you share with us what is like merchant adoption and also the customer behavior?
I think that when, I'm not sure if it was me or Wisdom, when one of them was speaking, they spoke about peculiarity of markets and how we like to think that Africa is small, but the peculiarity of each market in Africa is so significant that it cannot just be swept, under the carpet. You get to several countries and you see the predominant payment methods are so different. You get to Kenya, you see that, it's so different here. You get to probably South Africa, you see that it's cards here, what's happening? And it's all Africa. For Nigeria, it's not mentioned that we are seeing a significant rise in pay with bank transfer. And I think that that's because of customer behavior. People are used to transferring money. As a matter of fact, whatever you order now, I think that people still prefer to pick the payment method, the pay with bank transfer payment method, but they're used to it. And that's why we were also very comfortable, onboarding the product of the direct account payments, where customers are able to simply put in their account details and register that account. Registering it means tokenizing it. Tokenizing it means you're putting your account details there for subsequent payments to happen without you going there. We have something like that for cards.
And it had just been a hassle getting accounts on that as well. So this was a very significant one for us because we know that in Nigeria in particular, people would prefer to use pay with bank transfer. So we know again that people prefer to just put in their account details for subsequent payments to happen. So a significant growth in pay with bank transfer, as we can see, taking over cards exponentially, and it's almost unbelievable. I guess that's also because of customer behavior for what people are used.
Okay, Wendy, you were one as in like the architect of this report, part of it, But I wanted to ask you saw enterprise growth, you saw expansion into many countries, you saw different partnerships with other companies. What were the middle highlights for you in 2024? And also looking forward in 2025, what's the outlook like?
I want to speak to something that May said. When she talked about challenges, she didn't give full context. Like, for example, last year we announced our Ghana license. For you to understand the amount of work that went into that, it was 7 years. We applied for that license 7 years before we got the license. So that's the amount of work that has to be done. So I think when we put out news and we put out announcements and we put out stories, it's like, yeah, these guys are going and going and going. But it's years and years and years of work and years and sleepless nights and sacrifice and all of that. People are really dedicated to the work that we do. Anyway, that's it. Back to the end of year report. Highlights for me. One of my highlights was to send that remittance report. I think that thing that we hadn't done before was kind of take a stand about leading the conversation in remittance, giving people a view into customer insight. I don't like to use the term customer insights, but really the stories and the consumer behavior behind remittance, right? Like, why is somebody sending money to their parents every month? Why is somebody sending money to their family every month? How much of black tax is actually affecting the African diaspora, right, who are sending money into Africa? All of that was really insightful for even me. I did the reports in Kenya, Ghana, Nigeria, I think South Africa, 4 countries. And it was really insightful for us to be able to get that many responses and to see the differences in different countries as well. And then the second one is speaking to the license, the amount of work that goes into licensing, just us getting 31 licenses in the US. It feels like, even though we don't even have licenses in all the states, but it's been, yet again, a lot of work, a lot of and the work that goes behind that is not easy at all. It's not child's play. But that was a key highlight for me as well. Basically a game changer for cross-border payments. People that are African, that want to send money into Africa, or not African, that want to send money into Africa, get to do that, and we're able to facilitate that for them, especially in a market as huge as the US. Right? So those would be my 2 highlights. And then you said, what should we expect for 2025?
Yes, the outlook.
Outlook for 2025. So something that we've been talking about a lot since 2025 started is building a sustainable, profitable company. Flutterwave is heading towards profitability. We want to be where the big boys are. Girls. The girls. We want to be, that's one of the goals for us. We're moving into another level of maturity as a company. And that's one of the things that we achieved. And then I don't want to speak for wisdom, I don't want to speak on the partnerships there, but that's a key thing for us, and that cuts across everything that we're doing. We're trying to be more efficient. We're trying to, even with hiring, even with everything that we're doing across the company, we're trying to make sure that we're achieving this our goal of profitability.
All right.
Yes.
And the final question from me is, last year was a year where we saw a lot of support in the financial system, banks, to a lot of money being here and there. What advanced system you guys fast forward? Then the second is what are you guys
First one, right? I don't know members, right? Although establishments, right? First, we need to contribute to right, so we have a system whereby we have other transactions, transaction, where transactions, was the money for triggers events, event can transaction. That is what's in the account. Right, we also rolled out to the amount of transaction. For instance, say you are that's obvious. Some that very suspicious. So we have a system whereby we look at the candidates, make decisions. In addition to that, we also need changes to during that. But like now you can and so much stuff to make sure suspicious intent. Right? So that's what we do. Now for 2025, so I think GPI we're working on what you said is called our next gen APIs. First API is safe. Transactions. Right, so we were making major changes that are meant to become industry standards. We're trying to introduce like a new trend. So APIs are now APIs. Right, so it's not just going to be over there. It's not just going to streamline the experience with better we come on board and we like it as soon as possible. It's also going to set the trend which likely we have done. So you're going to be seeing that roll out very soon. That's something we've been working on. Looking at it's going to come out.
All right. Hey, at a country that 30 states in the US. That's one actually. That's one. That's one state in the US for African countries, right? Is this the year that you guys make it 50? 50 states. Let's go. So is this the year you make it 50 states? And how many more African countries are you looking at in this year? Or maybe outside? Because I know you guys went to Saudi Arabia as well and Bahrain. And, how many more countries this year?
Okay, thank you. Let's remember that expansion is not just about geography. It's not just about moving from country to country. This year, we're planning to deepen our reach as opposed to widening. And so that being said, this 2025, prepare to be sick of us, literally, because we're planning to enhance and expand our payment options. So like Wisdom rightly said, alternative payment methods, you'll see much more of that, new products, new payment types in markets that we already exist in. And yes, we will get more licenses as well. We're going to 50, we're not stopping at 31, not 30 like you had said before. And while doing this, we want to also enhance the payment experience for all customers and the customers of our merchants as well. And so you will see faster payments. We have teams that are actually just like when we said, there are people behind everything that happens today, right? Nothing is just work. There's a lot of work and dedication that goes on behind this to make sure that we have faster payments. It's more cost efficient, transaction efficiency and the like. So this year, like Wisdom also said, we're enhancing our APIs, we're enhancing our infrastructure. And while we're trying to achieve speed, agility and all that, we're still looking at compliance because we want people to feel safe and secure to pay however you want to pay. And so like going back to what you said about expansion. Once again, to reiterate, expansion is not just about geography. It's about us strengthening our existing capabilities. And we are very open to opportunities and strategic collaborations that will help us achieve that mission. And our mission remains the same. Our focus remains the same, which is that we want to take Africa to the world, and we want to bring Africa here. We want to bring the world to Africa. And so we are achieving that by simplifying payments for endless possibilities.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That was good. My last question would be, what are the top performing business categories in 2024? And what are the lessons to be learned by merchants put into 2025?
Okay, I think what we saw in 2024 was mostly, and I mean, this is what people would have probably expected as well. E-commerce and retail saw a good growth there. And that's basically because of the alternative payment methods that we added. The nice checkout fronts that you'd see, because you want to also make sure that customers have a good experience when they're checking out. Another industry we saw was transportation and logistics. We saw a high growth there as well, and mostly because, again, almost same thing. I think GP mentioned before, Uber is a major one for us there, and that's because they have, seamless payment experience for their customers. Another one we saw was travel, travel and hospitality, and it must have also spanned from, what Mr. mentioned around the dirty December, where people came home. Everybody that came home either entered the plane or used the Uber or bought stuff. And under the travel and hospitality was mostly the lower reach, the cross-border payments, the FX conversions, because what we realized was that people were mostly using their international pass, flights. So that contributed a huge deal to the travel and travel and hospitality. So those three were major for us. Of course, we saw growth here and there, remittances, like I think Wendy said, remittances, and a couple of others, but those were like the major ones. And maybe the lesson there is just the expansion, the cross-border payments, the ability for the customers to have access to global infrastructure, multi-currency, because of Flutterwave, we have a very robust system for multi-currency collections, for, the global infrastructure is there to just support customers that are willing to take their businesses out.
We also had more dates in December.
More dates in December. That will certainly happen. Yes. That will certainly happen.
All right. Thank you very much. I think for me, the key takeaway is what they said. Expansion is beyond geographies. It's just a lot more consolidation in everything that we've seen. And we have seen what that looks like and what the results actually bring. Report that we have. We have time for questions. Right.
Thank you. Okay. Please, can we give the panelists a round of applause? We have the questions online. So I'm going to start with Mr. Ruben. So Mr. Ruben is really very curious. Please, can we all hear me?
You might want to stand. I don't think that works.
The mic was okay. Okay, let me just start here. So we have a couple of questions online. I'm going to start with Ruben. So Ruben is really curious. He has about 3 questions. So I'm going to start with, once the license is established, what work is needed to ensure merchants can transact and that new geography is successfully activated? Second question, is organic growth a part from Flutterwave part of strategy? Yeah, I don't understand that. The payments parts of the strategy. Then the last one, the payment space is becoming saturated in emerging markets. What's Flutterwave's strategy in defending position?
Thank you, one after. Because I think Bristol is partnership.
Okay. Once the license is established, what work is needed to ensure merchants can transact and the new geography is successfully activated?
Okay, I'll take that. Okay, yes. So as I mentioned earlier, when we go for license applications, we have to check the presentation. Let them know why we're here. It's not just about getting the license, it's the value that we want to bring to the economy. What impact are we trying to make? And that being said, what we do is that we now have to establish the partnership. So what payment types do we want to activate? And remember, before we decide that we want to go into the market to have and start the application process, we've already done our research and our feasibility studies to know whether it's worth us going or not. It's not because ABC is there that we must be there. It's not every single market that we may want to enter at that very point in time. So to answer your question, we have to now do our research to do the payment types that are more predominant in that market, and then we begin to establish partnerships. Whatever local business licenses we may also need in addition to what we already have as well. We also have to.
Thank you very much. Second question, payment space is becoming saturated in emerging markets. What's Flutterwave's strategy in defending its position?
All right, so payment space is becoming saturated in emerging markets, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a bold statement because you're looking at emerging markets, right? I think we're just getting started, right? You're looking at, I know for let's look at emerging markets. Let's say, for instance, Nigeria is pretty much transfer is massively catching up, right? Right. So if you look at the payment providers of Nigeria, you can literally list them, right? You know the top guys. So and yet we've not even explored into the realms of AI and how AI helps actual payments. We've not even ventured into stable coins and how we use stable coins in these emerging markets. So we're just getting started, right? So it's really right. And what's Flutterwave doing, right? Like I said earlier, we're very grounded. We're grounded in this market. We know what's happening. We know what's happening, right? So in short, right? We rolled out cash collections, right? And if you look at the numbers for agents, you realize cash is still key, right? So you stay grounded. So for across every single market, like we mentioned, right? We don't just do license. We look at the market fees, right? How can we play in that space? What do we need to put in that space to ensure we still become the relevant payment provider of choice in the next couple of years? So we stay grounded and we make sure we deliver what we need to stay alive in that market, ensuring those transactions. Digital market share. It's not about being there. Let's keep market share.
All right, thank you very much. Another question from Brian. Gen AI has become significant in finance, especially in customer service and AML, but not on the customer side, but not on the consumer side. How can AI contribute to fintech consumer products? He's done.
Okay, yeah. So how can I?
Should I read it? Gen AI has been significant in finance, especially in customer support and AML, as anti-money laundering, but not on the consumer side. How can AI contribute to fintech consumer products?
So how can AI contribute? So, honest variety. So in terms of AI, it's still massive. Impact in research, right? We can already see practices beyond that. Onto AI. See AI pivoting towards like whatever kind of personalized, right? Imagine if you the AI service literally can look at the transaction patterns fast and pretty much recommend an optimized way for your partner or your transaction can pay. Imagine looking at where your inflows coming and recommending when you can actually make payments to maybe reduce cost of tax or maybe reduce possibilities of improving success rate. So let's think about that in this context. How does AI help us? Optimization of success rates. So you can look at transaction patterns and maybe recommend what you should use to pay for that transaction to be successful. So personalized payment. So the realms of AI is pretty much just, and really it's as broad as your imagination, right? So we're here for it. We're really just.
Another question from Olugbenga. As a small business owner, how can I buy goods in Ghana with my Naira exchange to CDs and achieve profitable exchange rates to thrive my business?
I think that first of all, so he wants to buy CDs from Nigeria,
Like goods in Ghana.
he wants to buy goods in Ghana.
It's Naira
It's
exchange.
Naira CDs. So he wants to change money to CDs
Yes.
and then buy the goods.
Yes.
I think that first of all, we need to know or find out what kind of merchant it is, what kind of business it is. If that business is on Flutterwave, he doesn't even have to change in funds to CDs. He simply just puts in his card details or his account details, and funds are transferred to the customer in the currency, which is CDs. So essentially, what that does is he eradicates the headache of having to think of where to, change your funds and etc. So that's sort of sorted, and it's why we as Flutterwave always figure out ways to solve this kind of problems. So we already have that solution in place for this customer.
Thank you. Bakari said,
So, just to also add, just went live, Ghana, the request to Olua to be, and you send up to convert your Naira to JS and then pay for your goods.
thank you very much. Bakari said, speaking on COVID-19 pandemic and remittances, few countries have seen a surge in remittances. Others have experienced a decline. Do you think this will be lasting effect? Speaking on COVID-19 pandemic on remittances, few countries have seen a surge in terms of remittances. Others have experienced a decline. Do you think this will be lasting effect?
I think that the countries that are mainly into remittances today, I think it's mostly Africa, and that's not going down at all. It's more or less on the high side. It keeps increasing, and that's because either because most people, and this is based on findings and whatever it is, researches that people always send money home, COVID-19 or not. COVID-19 sort of did a number of that, but people will always send money home. The routes might be different, the corridors might be different, but sending money from Canada to Nigeria, for instance, will always be on the rise. Sending money from the US to Nigeria will always be on the rise. So again, it depends on how this person is looking at it. But the entirety of it will always be on the rise because people always need money in this part of the world. And especially because they have most of their relatives or most of people that family members that look like they're doing well are abroad, and there's always a reason to send money home either to your mom, to your dad, to your siblings. So this would always be on the rise for Africa.
Yeah, that's correct. Easy to tell where remittances will be on the rise is by following the migration stats. Right? As you track the migration stats, usually where migration stats is positive, will always be remittance from where the rest. So migration stats from Nigeria to the US. Let's come back to follow the migration stats. It's not just COVID, right? Migration started everywhere.
Just to add, I don't think the actually gone down, because at least for 2024, was about 60 billion, in excess of $60 billion for the top 5 remittance inward receiving countries. That's Nigeria, Egypt, Nigeria, Morocco, Ghana, and Kenya. So I think I'm not sure the statistic that he's referring to.
Okay, why is Flutterwave reluctant to open dollar payments for Nigerian merchants?
I'm not sure what that means. So can you take the question?
Why is Flutterwave reluctant to open dollar payments for Nigerian merchants?
I don't think there's any reluctance. If anything, I think it's going to be more of risk and compliance, regulatory averse or regulatory adoption. Because I recall a couple of years ago in Flutterwave, it was by default that you would have a dollar collections of cross-border. That's just good for you by default. But what we had seen over time was the need to be able to control that. So what we do right now is ensure that KYC is in place, is more or less to also reduce fraud, anti-money laundering, the anti-money laundering processes and all of that. So what we had done was, like I said, make sure that we have all the compliance processes in place, KYC is in place to reduce the fraud risk and bring down the fraud, issues as much as possible, especially in the FX space, to make sure that everything is under check and we're able to control that as much as possible. But that is a very, very viable product that we sell. We have customers who collect payments in dollars, who we remit to in dollars as well. But we just ensure that everything is checked.
Final question: where is the nexus between Flutterwave's 2025 strategy and the current global remittance theme, which is stable points? What's the nexus between Flutterwave's 2025 strategy and the current global remittance theme, which is stable points?
Okay, so when it comes to a strategy, right, and how that's when it comes to stable coins, especially in Africa, is tricky, right? And this is more like on regulatory. Most regulators are still trying to adjust and fit into that space, right? They're still trying to figure out when it needs for stable, what stable coin is to how we can pass it. So, but for when you look at our 2025 strategy, right? 2025 strategy is pretty much to yes. It's not just about spreading out. What does that mean? The regions where we are about playing the same space, let's find out. Right? So we did narrow to that point where I'm able to actually facilitate that. But it's definitely going to be within the confines of what's regulatory and what's permitted. Right? So what does that mean for Nigeria? You're looking at how showing results and how and as we go into that space, definitely adjust accordingly. Actively monitoring across markets, right? And by the way, you're hearing quite a lot about points for what we need.
Okay, this brings us to the end of this session. Please, a round of applause. So when I tell you after Flutterwave, we have people that are busy. See that? I'm not bragging by mouth. Thank you very much. Including myself. Okay, so guys, love it. Thank you. I think okay. I'll take it here.
Are you okay?
Last time it is.
You told me to Thank you. Okay, guys, please pardon my manners. I forgot to ask, do you have any questions in house?
It's late.
I'm sorry. It's international release, so permit me to forget things. So do we have questions? Just permit me. So do you have any questions? Okay. We don't have questions. Okay.
I look around, I'm the only one of the Asia, right? Worth rich. So I came from X Transfer. So we have been partnered with Toby for how many months? Since October, right?
Yeah.
So we process around $100 million a month, like it's Flutterwave right now, 3.4 billion. So I have one question for that lady May.
Okay,
Yes. My KPI for this year is 54 countries. How can you help me?
you said
My KPI for this year,
KPI.
for this year is to help the Chinese merchants across the whole Africa do the B2B cross payments with Flutterwave scale. That's the reason why Toby bring me from South Africa like here, like very late. Sorry, not late. My KPI for this year, end of this year, is $1 billion per month in Nigeria. Don't believe it's a false or what. If you check the payments from China to Nigeria, it's crazy. You know, like clothes, shoes, everything is most of that from China.
Yeah.
And we know in these countries there's an issue. It's like the black market is gone, right? But thanks for Flutterwave and all other Fintech people here, we somehow take a lot of traffic from the black market, and which bank can't take that out of our hands. That's the reason why everyone is here. So my thing is how Flutterwave can help me to scale from currently 100 million, around like $100 million per month, equivalent to Naira, to 1 billion 10 times. Because from the remittance perspective, lots of people talk about remittance because remittance is most source of fund right now, right? But back of like bank world, like world of banking, let's say, sorry, world of banking's data and all this data claims that the remittance money is not enough. All the data, all the research that we have done, and we find that from the Google, from the AI, all of that didn't show enough money for us to this FX. But indeed, we have Flutterwave, we have CoralPay, right? We have Fintech, we have Lotto, we have so many, almost every PSP who do FX, I know them. But only all that date can make it fun. But my question is, to you, to Toby, and to Flutterwave, we are the Chinese number one cross-border payments providers. How Flutterwave can help us? Like Ghana, yes, it's here. MFS don't have Ghana. We used to work with Ghana, with them, but government shut down. How we can work with yours to make sure all the lessons you have, we can really come to the final results.
Thank you very much. I think that's a very great question. And remember, I had said that our focus still remains the same, which is to bring Africa to the world and also bring the world to Africa. And so I'm very glad with your submission in terms of China and Africa. You mentioned Nigeria, you mentioned Ghana, you mentioned quite a number of markets that we are already present, right? And remember, our growth is our growth.
Yes.
When you expand, we expand. When you have more business, we have more business. So obviously it's in our best interest to make sure that we are close to you and partnering with you. Remember my last statement was that we remain open to strategic partnerships and opportunities to make sure that we are achieving our own mission. So please, let's speak with after this. Thank you.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, so my name is Olugbenga. I used to lead AI at Spotify.
Can we hear Olumide?
No.
Hi, my name is Olugbenga. I used to lead AI at Spotify, but I was jackpot. Now I lead product and AI and stuff. One of the things that I understand with Flutterwave is getting as much business as you do. The way it translates is that you also are at that point where you're central to most of the data that goes through payments in Nigeria and in Africa. And so it is very critical to understand what the plan is, because you control so much data that you're able to solve some of the problems that are happening now. You're able to fraud, you're able to solve security issues. You're able to build on top of what you have, to create solutions that every other person in the industry can then leverage on. So what I like to know or understand is if you do have an AI strategy, what is it like? Or a data strategy, what is it like? And how are you investing time, effort, and money to building these systems because of the fact again that you control so much data would propel the community forward. Thank you.
You mentioned the work. Yes, and you're correct, right? We control the decent market share. Some of the regions will replace it. And that gives us very privileged. So that has influenced some of the decisions we've made in the past. Like one of you takes out partner with PhD, right? To ensure we're able to also really contribute and share the partners. The one system, tracking for it. That's disrupting value of like that is from paying Nigerian merchants for the first, right? You can trust the system. You can trust the guy you're paying to value, right? We partner with that and some of those firms to ensure we build that strategy and help. But now, from an AI standpoint, what's our AI strategy and how about that? Right, so for 2025, we're thinking of the payments, we're trying to grow our volumes, right, across the board. At the same time, we understand what is what's happening in the US, what's happening in China, right? And we already know what we need to do. I don't want to call it out right now and say these are the tools or products or services to release it just yet. But trust me when I say we're thinking about AI when it comes to our payments and process and what that means to payment, right? And you're probably going to be seeing that roll out when it comes to how we revolutionize our checkout screens, right? You see that. So we have a bit of a strategy around AI. We can't hint, I can only hint at it and say, okay, something around success rates and all that. But we'll see how that plays out and how that influences the market. But yeah, we can be when we announce something.
All right, fantastic. Please, do you have any questions?
All right, my name is Michael. I work with test documents. My question was just to make. I think I see that. It's around partnership and in this aspect, last mile delivery, because most of us are partners with Flutterwave, and for that reason, when it comes to delivery, our customers, for example, don't care we're partnered with. They just want to make sure that the beneficiary gets, the delivery or settlement of that transaction. So sometimes when we have broken rails, or when transactions are successful, and I think this is majorly because of so many intermediaries in the play sector. Instead of partnership in line with direct banks, instead of EMIs, who try to shorten this and make it very, very difficult for the bank, because it's assumed if you have a direct partnership with the bank, these rates are direct instead of going through intermediaries, and delivery timelines are okay.
I think I didn't catch your name when.
Michael.
Esca.
Esca.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Yes, and I totally agree with you. And that's why we're constantly working towards improving our partnership. And so we want to ensure that we have reduced failure points. Just like you rightly said, why do we have to go from an intermediary to the final source? And so that's what we're doing. We're tapping in directly to the source in countries where we are already present and have licenses. We are integrating directly to the source. So that should solve your challenge in terms of maybe late delivery or anything. But if you have any specific issues, please do let's speak after this.
Any more questions? Okay, I guess this brings us to the end of this session. So we have closing remarks from
Hello everyone, good evening.
Let me ask, please, did you enjoy this session? My manager is here. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for your time. It's been a long session, a lot of talks, right? But we're happy you came today. Fintech evenings for us is literally about community. We want to hear from you. It's not even about competition or anything. It's fintech, what is happening, right? And like most people who work in fintech say, you know that also collaborate with your competitors, right? Like GB will always say, payment is all partnership, right? So we are excited about this, and this is a bi-monthly or every other month event where we, just come together. The focus is going to be different every time. It's always going to be about fintech reports. We've done 2 editions. The first one was around fraud and payments, and we did another one in December. It was around 25 hours look, and more like, okay, what can businesses do to prepare for the end of the year? And this is the 3rd edition, and hopefully we'll do another one either next month or in May, and it's going to be exciting, right? The topic will release when it's time. But thank you so much for coming. We appreciate you spending your evening with us, and even as we close now, just want to tell you thank you one more time, and finally we have stuff for you, so please don't be in a hurry to go. And please, there is no fintech evening without networking. So please try to know who is sitting beside you, not just by their name tags, right? But what you do, we know Olugbenga works at Sabi, right? And you know our speakers, right? We just try to meet other people. And who knows? Maybe the KPI you want to meet, maybe it's somebody here you meet your KPI, right? So thank you everyone. And this I say it's a
Welcome to the Africa Fintech Summit. The Africa Fintech Summit was founded in 2017 with the mission to strengthen Africa's emerging financial technology industry. We have hosted events in Lagos, Nigeria, Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, Cairo, Egypt, Washington, D.C., Cape Town, South Africa, Lusaka, Zambia, Nairobi, Kenya, and even a fully virtual summit during the pandemic. As we have grown, so has Africa's fintech industry. In 2025, the journey continues in Ghana. Join us as we gather visionaries, entrepreneurs, and decision makers to shape the future of fintech in Africa. We hope to see you there.